Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to VTV. Or if it's your first time, welcome to VTV. We are glad to have you here. This will be my third and final video on what you need to know about these football games before I begin to break down the AI system for Madden 13 and NCAA 13. This video will be probably my greatest video in explaining the AI system, how it works, what it's intended to do, and exactly how it affects us, the gamer. There is going to be a tremendous amount of information I'm going to speak about. It will be a long video. Every second of it will be very important information. Likewise, if you are a quote simhead and simulation gameplay is what you desire, this video will be for you. I don't care if you're the 13-year-old casual gamer, if you're part of the sim standard, if you are just an individual commentator. It doesn't matter. Now, you'll have to bear with me because it will be very technical and I will get into very detailed information. Try your best to follow me so that you can understand exactly what I'm saying. This video will end the discussion. Is Madden simulation? Which game is simulation? Which game is more simulation? Which game is doing it right? Which game has it all wrong? We're going to put an end to all of that today, right now. The title of this video will be There Can Never Be a Simulation Football Video Game. I'll repeat, there can never be a simulation football video game. Ever. And I'm going to explain exactly why. We're going to build to the conclusion, and it's going to get technical. Very technical. Any game, in this example, football game, any game with players' ratings fluctuating and also has a preset difficulty setting can never have real-time physics. Okay, I'll say it again. Any football game that has players' ratings that fluctuate in real time, like Madden had with their dynamic player performance, for example, if it fluctuates and the game also has a preset difficulty setting, example, rookie, pro, all Madden, and 2K5, there is, I think, rookie, pro, legend, and there's another one, maybe all pro. Doesn't matter. All football games apply here. If they have both, they can never have real-time physics at the same time. Why is that? Because there would be a contradiction shown. For example, here's why that statement is true. We all see this contradiction when you put a quarterback at offensive tackle. I've done that many times. Many other commentators have done this also. Easily, it can be looked up on YouTube. In other words, the difficulty setting cannot contradict fluctuating ratings. Here's why. It could lead to a breach of integrity of the difficulty setting. For example, if you have a game where players' ratings fluctuate, and within that same game it has those 4 difficulty settings or any multiple difficulty settings, the fluctuating ratings could nullify the difficulty setting. It could render the difficulty setting irrelevant. But we all know that within Madden, 2K5, All Pro, there has never been a game that can do it. There has never been a game that has done it because the difficulty setting overrules ratings. Multiple people, including myself, have shown that the difficulty setting will overrule the player's ratings. If you have an offensive tackle whose rating is at 99, yet the skill level is on all Madden, he cannot play at a 99 rating. The difficulty setting will dumb him down because of logic. Because of logic. Let's continue. Here's also why that's true. This is why the game Backbreaker did not allow player editing, because it had a difficulty setting, and the editing would corrupt the difficulty setting's integrity. Let's say Backbreaker's top difficulty setting is named very hard. Player editing would corrupt the difficulty setting if players can be edited, because Backbreaker ran physics in real time. Very hard difficulty setting isn't very hard if it could potentially, and that's the key word, potentially, because the fluctuation allows for potential. It isn't very hard if it could potentially become easy due to the fluctuating ratings. It would show the integrity of the difficulty setting isn't valid. How could the computer make the game very hard for you when the ratings fluctuated in a way to where the game is no longer very hard for you? That's the only way they can uphold the very hard difficulty setting without breaching the setting's integrity. Meaning very hard will be very hard no matter what. And this was done in Madden 12. The ratings did not fluctuate to that extreme, but they fluctuated nonetheless. And we have seen within Madden 12 that when the ratings fluctuated and the setting is on all Madden, the all Madden setting overrules the ratings. Keep that in mind. Let's continue. These statements that I've just made have been shown to be true by not just myself, by placing quarterbacks on the offensive line, by placing wide receivers on the defensive line, by taking a player, dropping his ratings as low as they can possibly go, and putting him on the all Madden team, which is controlled by the AI system. And the AI has shown us that that player whose rating is very low will perform nonetheless on an all Madden level. Punters have pancaked defensive linemen whose ratings are in the 90s. The difficulty setting overrules all. No game will breach the difficulty setting. It's only going to get better. Let's continue. This portion will get even more technical, so stay with me. How is it possible that the AI system can be its own opponent? When you play Madden or All Pro Football 2K8, any football game, and the AI system is controlling the opposite team, the opposite 11 players, and you're controlling the one player that you can control. And of course, the other 10 players on your team is controlled by the AI system also. So I'll ask the question again. How can the AI system become its own opponent? The answer is it cannot. It would be logically incorrect. What am I saying? The AI system can be its own teammate because they share one intention. It is logically correct that the computer, the AI system, can control the opposing team, all 11 players, again, because they share one intention, but it cannot be its own opponent. And in all of these games, all of these football games specifically, we have one AI system. Well, you may say, what if we control all 11 players on the user's team and the AI controls just the opposing team? There happen to be 11 individuals playing the same game, and the computer is just controlling the opposite team. That way, the computer can maintain being its own teammate, having the one intention, and they will not be their own opponent. Can we get simulation that way? And the answer is still no. No, you cannot. And I'll tell you why. Here is the number one reason why you cannot do that. Because the difficulty setting will never allow for unpredictability. What do I mean by unpredictability? Let me show you a picture. Here you see a photo of two teams, the Denver Broncos against the San Diego Chargers. Let's focus on the players themselves. We have 11 on 11, and what I mean by unpredictability is this. Before the snap, there can be predictability. For example, as you see here, you can see a guy in motion and the defender will follow him. You will see the players have to line up a specific way. The defense knows that. They can predict how the offense has to line up because they have to be within the rules. They have to be within the rules about how many offensive linemen they can have, of how they set up their formation. That can be predicted. However, and here's where it all breaks down. Once that football is snapped, that's when everything we love about football begins. That's when the unpredictability begins. Virtually anything can potentially happen after that football is snapped. There can be a fumble, there can be a bobbled snap, there can be a flea flicker, there can be a wide receiver reverse, there can be a screen, there can be an interception, etc. upon etc. And not only that, but the way that they happen is also unpredictable. That interception can happen a countless number of ways. That bobbled snap can happen a countless number of ways. The unpredictability is what makes football football. Football is an emotional roller coaster when you watch it because it's unpredictable. And that is what no football game ever has had. No football game ever has had that. Within the games that we have, everything within them has been predetermined. Therefore, if it's predetermined, it can never, ever be simulation. Never, ever simulate football. Think I'm done? Not by a long shot. Why is it that most people don't understand this? It's because an illusion has been created. It has been created on purpose. And I'll show you how the illusion is created, why people fall for it. One way the illusion is created is because the creators of these football games show separation within players, within player ratings. This creates the illusion that instead of one AI system you're going against 11 different players. Let's jump back to that picture. When you look at this photo, you will see 22 different players, 11 on one side, 11 on the opposing side. Along with those 22 different players, what you do not see is 22 different intentions. Every player at every position plays different and has a different intention once the football is snapped. Once the football is snapped, position plays into the intention, weight plays into the intention. Weight determines how you pass rush, how you block. Height plays into the intention, speed, catching ability, on and on and on. All of these things are what we call physics. Now, these physics are different for each player, therefore making each and every player having a different intention. They all have the same goal, but all 22 players play different positions and play a different role in getting there. Again, 22 players, 22 different intentions. So I'll say this again. The illusion is created, and why people don't understand and think that they can get simulation from a football game. The illusion is created because games like Madden, 2K5, they show separation by players' ratings, and people think that these separate players have separate intentions. Case in point, why do you think the computer knows when you're passing the football? Why do you think players who, for example, if you're on offense and you throw a pass and you see a defender who's playing against the wide receiver, why do you think the defensive back who has never looked at the football knows when the football is thrown? This is because the AI creates the illusion that there are different intentions when in reality, there is only one. So if one player knows, it will be identical that the other player knows. That's how we got the psychic defensive backs. That's how we got players who were never looking, making incredible plays. Fact. Let's continue. When you see separate numbers, you think separate players. When you look at the roster, you will see all these different players and different numbers. Again, why do you think Ray Lewis does not play like Ray Lewis? He plays like every other linebacker out there. There is no separation. It's an illusion. Not even in 2K8 where players have skill sets. Just the same illusion, instead of numbers, they use words and people buy it. Now, just the numbers and the ratings, they're just numbers. They don't have an intention. The intention comes into play. Think of it as a weightlifter who is lifting weights. You have the human being and you have the weights, the dead weights, the numbers. 32 pounds is just 32 pounds. It has no intention. It's just a number. And I'll show you when the intention comes into play. 32 pounds is just 32 pounds. It's just there. Here is the second half of the illusion people fall for by thinking they can get simulation out of football games. Think of the difficulty setting as the weights. And when you decide how much weight you want to lift, you add pounds or you subtract pounds. The difficulty setting is like the weights. It's just a preset number. It's just a preset number. When you go to select All Pro, All Madden, there are numbers that are already preset. So think of the difficulty setting as weights, and you're the weightlifter. Now, when you want to add more weight, you add more weight. When you want to take off weight, you take it off. This is you determining the difficulty setting you want to play on. When you want it on All Madden, you add more weight, but the weight will not fluctuate. It won't change like the ratings will. 32 pounds will be 32 pounds. Once you place it on All Madden, it's already set, and that integrity will not be breached, period. The ratings have no effect on it. The difficulty setting puts the numbers, the ratings, in motion to cause movement, to create the illusion of an intention. And here is one of the most important statements. Understand why you cannot have simulation football. The difficulty setting has no intention. It just maintains a configuration of numbers the programmer had programmed into the game.
I was frightened.
Robots don't feel fear. They don't feel anything. They don't get hungry. They don't sleep.
I do. I have even had dreams.
Human beings have dreams. Even dogs have dreams, but not you. You are just a machine. An imitation of life.
This is why you see predetermined actions and control taken from you. This is what frustrates many of you football gamers out there who break your controllers, who break your games, who take them back. You see control taken from you. Everyone knows once you place it on All Madden or Legend in 2K games, control is taken from you. And you're frustrated because you can see it. The difficulty setting is an illusion of an intention. It's just an illusion. So without an intention, you can't have simulation football. You can't have a simulation football game. Because again, let's go back to the picture. In order to simulate football, forget running animations, forget blocking animations, forget foot planting, forget passing animations, forget Barry Sanders' personal juke move, Jerry Rice and how he comes off the line. Irrelevant. What matters most is that 22 players are fulfilling 22 different intentions in real time. If you don't have that, you don't have simulation. You cannot simulate football. An intention is a desire to take action. Predetermination means the action has already been taken. We can only have one or the other. A game that fulfills intentions in real time or predetermination. And unfortunately, we can only have a game with predetermination. There cannot be a game where an AI system has intentions to fulfill, meaning unpredictability. You can't have it. We don't have technology even close to that. This is what everyone who wants simulation fails to understand. Or I should say, not everyone, most people fail to understand this. So in closing, 2K5, Madden, NCAA, 2K8, even basketball games, but I'm going to stay on football games. Every football game that we have only has predetermination. I'm not talking about real-time tackles like in Backbreaker. I'm talking about where the AI is not its own opponent. So in order to have simulation, you must have the following. You must have an AI that is not predetermined, because football is not predetermined after the snap. You must have an AI system who is not its own opponent. You must have 22 different intentions on the field at one time. That's the only way you can get unpredictability, which is what football is. If you don't have that, you will always have repetitive animations, suction, sliding, psychic DBs. The top level is cheating as if they already know your play, because they do. You will always have that stuff. There's no AI system that can have an intention of its own, deciding in real time. That is what it will take to have simulation football, let alone 22 different ones that are separate. In our football games today, the AI can only be preset to appear to have one, to appear to have an intention, but it will always be predetermined. Always. No technology like that exists. When you're playing Madden, the only intention that you see is your own, and you see the illusion of a separate intention by the AI system when you're given, I'll repeat for a third time, when you're given the opportunity to select for yourself what you want to see. Example, rookie, pro, all Madden. The choice is given to you. What preset animations, what preset outcomes do you want to see? Do you want to play on rookie, where the New England Patriots appear to be rookies? Do you want to see the Cleveland Browns on all Madden appear to be champions? At the main menu, when you're deciding the difficulty setting, what configuration do you want maintained, and decide it before you begin the game. If you can decide all of this before you begin the game, that should be a clue that the game is not simulation. Ask anyone who has played these games, these football games, and they'll tell you they can feel control being taken from them. And two, the repetitive occurrence is the evidence that the control has been taken from them. It's always in the fourth quarter. It's always during the last 2 minutes, or it's always during those crucial points, and they are repetitive. I know I said in closing, but here is the closing. You can't have simulation football. It's useless to even try. All you will do is keep wanting and wanting and wanting, and every year you will buy Madden or you will play Madden, and you will repeat the same cycle until you get old enough to know better. Most people are starting to catch on to what I just explained. Some people are still a long ways away, but they will catch on. And in the end, they will come to this conclusion right here, what I've just explained to you. They can't have it. Like I said, some people know this, but some people don't. So what is my goal? Why is it that I make these videos on football? Because my goal is separate from everyone else's. Here's my goal. The solution is to have one single difficulty setting, because there has to be one to move the players. Otherwise, you just have numbers. The solution to getting something close to simulation is you need one single difficulty setting, just one, and have the AI system just maintain the players' ratings, which is physics. That's the closest you can get to having a simulation football game or a simulation basketball game. Now, I know people will talk about MLB The Show. I can't wait to talk about that game, because that is far from human versus human interaction. That is a baseball which doesn't have an intention, which can be predicted upon because of the physics. That is easier than two players pushing and shoving and fulfilling different intentions. Don't get me started on MLB The Show. So for those of you who are watching this or who has made it to the end, I know probably by now some people who tends to take sides and chooses to maintain what they're doing for their own sake probably have shut the video off or written a comment below. But it doesn't matter, because in the end, your pursuit of simulation football will end right here. And sooner or later, you will realize this and take a step forward and say, what can I do? No AI system can have an intention of its own deciding in real time. That's what football is. Just 22 men running around with intentions to fulfill. That cannot be predetermined. It can't be. So you should be wary of anyone who tells you it can be. It can only be preset to appear to have an intention, which is the word predetermination. Now you know why there's the psychic DB. Now you know why that linebacker who never saw you throw a pass can jump up and bat the ball down blindly. Now you know why your own, quote, teammates don't block for you. Now you know why your offensive linemen move out of the way or run backwards. This is what you needed to know. This is what you needed to know. Thank you for watching. You know, guys, you gotta lose the ego. I'm not seeing that on pro. There's not the sliding, the backwards moonwalk, but it happens less. It happens less. They shouldn't even have this right here. This right here kills Madden, because as long as they have this is, they have to have the Tron jockey. They have to have the running in place. You know, they have to have it for players who are lacking. And when you want more competition and you turn that level up, they have to compensate for that space. So you'll see an 80 speed guy sliding, because they have to make him slide, because that's what you're asking for. You're asking for a normal, you know, a regular guy to keep up with a superstar, and they have to make him slide. You know, that's why they do the research and get these guys ratings, you know. But if you're asking them to keep up with superstars, how else are they going to do it?